Joan Taraskowitz, and Jen Tian. Okay, there are four of us, so that establishes a quorum.
Well,
Present to speak?
me, I'm no longer official. I resigned from the board today. And so these are my official papers. Because I'm spending the time being a bluegrass. Spend my time with fiddles and music and flowers.
This is not more relaxing than that?
No, it's just, you get to the age, and I'm planning end of life, is what I have to do at my age. And I said, what were the things I really like to be surrounded about? I feel very confident in the board. I feel very confident. We have a wonderful director. I think that Debbie is in tune with you. It seems to be when I've seen it. So that's good because, I don't know how she's been here on her own. So I think this is great. And, Nick has taken over with the budget and stuff. That's good. So, right now, I think we're in very good shape. So I am going to exit and go home and play music and dig a garden.
In
Okay,
the snow?
Hmm?
In the snow?
well, I'm planning, I'm getting the garden books out already because I have to start plants pretty soon. But anyways, I think it's good, I think Karen's really knocked herself out to try to keep ahead of things here. But things have moved very fast. So, very good. I am available if there's a project or something that needs to be done. Cause I'm not moving to Pango yet. And, in about 6 months, I may be going. You may wanna go too, Nick, by then. So, okay, well, thank you. Because of snow, I'm going to go home and feed Bill. So,
Enjoy your time and thank you
yes,
for your
this is
service.
my retirement. Thank you. That's nice of you. That's really nice. I appreciate it.
Even the fun we've had, I've enjoyed your time.
Oh, I like sparring with you. I think that's the one thing I'm gonna miss. So Bill says you're gonna have to go to the meetings. Who's gonna rattle Nick's cage? Okay. So anyways, I will see you. I will be talking to you, Karen.
Okay, yeah, like I said, figure out if you wanna go to dinner. Figure out if you wanna go to dinner, but.
Yeah, yeah, we'll
We'll
talk to you this week later.
Okay, so
Thank you,
Have a good
everybody,
night.
for your
Thank you.
support. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your
Thank
service,
you.
Joan.
Okay,
Enjoy. Drive safe.
okay, thank
So
you.
we are officially at 5 people, but we do have a quorum because 3 people is a quorum for 5. Okay, director's report?
Alright, so there's a physical copy of the director's report. It is lengthy, so I can try and skim through the highlights, so, continue to get acquainted with town staff. We're looking through, we're processing new books, we're getting newer books, we're getting discounts on books. I was telling Nick before the meeting started that we've started ordering again through Baker and Taylor, which on any given day is 20 to 30% cheaper than ordering off of Amazon, which has been kind of the de facto purchasing process for the past several months. So we should be seeing more books for less in the near future. Action Air is working on the heating system. They've completed the majority of the work, outlined some of the costs. The parts were able to come in $100 less, not as much as we'd like. The labor, because of the multi-day process, was maintained at their quoted amount for 10 hours over 2 days. We're still waiting on one more part for a part downstairs. The upstairs is all set. The downstairs, there was a faulty part that they need to replace. So you'll notice sometimes in the vestibule when you first walk in, it's a little cold compared to the interior. It's a part of that system. So we're waiting for a part for that and for them to come back to finish that service.
I thought that was just because it was snowing outside.
No, no, actually for a while it was running hotter than almost anywhere else in the building. So something was faulty with the part. We had our pre-construction meeting with all things masonry and the engineer on Monday. Everything looks pretty squared away. They're gonna get us a quote for an initial deposit on the materials needed for the project. So we should be hearing from them in a couple of weeks. They want to get started as soon as possible within reason for the weather. Ideally, they'd like to start sometime in April and be done hopefully by Memorial Day, as long as there's a good thaw. And we talked about layout for their work, where they're gonna leave. They're gonna have to use a full-size trailer style storage unit, like almost like a shipping container that they're gonna have to store on the premises throughout the process of the project. So they're saying it shouldn't take more than 30 days. Let's see. We had a follow-up meeting with the engineer, but there was a miscommunication and also due to the snow. He said some of the things he wanted to look at around the entire envelope of the building wouldn't be conducive with the snow and the conditions. So we're hoping that if weather warms up, that we might go around and check out a few other things. We've restarted the OWL outbounds, so that's been a good process. We're getting things back to libraries as well as receiving. Invoices are being paid in a timely manner. Deb and I will be attending the CLA conference in April for 2 days as a part of the professional development budget. And programs and events, Deb is actually, just as a quick update on that too, Deb is at the CIP meeting presenting on the library's portion of the capital improvement plan. I think she is last on the agenda, so I might hop on and try and support her if the meeting ends quickly. But I know, we'll see how the meeting goes, but yeah, I told her we might be racing, see who finishes first. Take Your Child to Library Day was great. We had 24 people for Mr. Magic, and we had one really excited girl and her mom spend over an hour with the reading dog and the therapy dog. So we've got ongoing book and adult and senior book clubs, Pokemon Club, all the various monthly meetings. This coming Saturday, we have a local author talk about the murders in 2020. They're expecting a pretty good crowd for that. Senator Gordon and Representative Nuccio are going to be joining us for Read Across America Day in March. Going to be doing 2 books. We've got Mario Day that we're doing the 2nd annual celebration of the following week, and then getting ready for other seasonal events and celebrations, and summer reading is underway. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can report on. We are looking to get a grant from ARSL, which is the Association of Rural and Small Libraries, for up to $15,000. That is for ADA improvements, any electrical or if we were to do like LED lighting upgrades, any HVAC upgrades, which I think at this point we probably don't pour any more money into HVAC, but so we're looking at various options for projects or needs. That is due in about a month. One project that we're considering and just getting information for that Deb had a long time interest in is our story walk, and making that ADA accessible with a stone dust path that was of interest to the Becker family as well. So that's currently our top one, and we're gonna work with the engineer on getting a estimate for that, and then upgrading the story walk itself with more appropriate facilities for each page so that they're not as exposed to the elements. And that is about it.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
So, so getting acquainted with the staff in town, I know we've been trying to get, I think, insurance information, right? Have you had any talks with them about that? And I don't even know if you were aware.
No, not aware, but I can definitely try and get that needle moving.
Okay. And then, so the work that was done for the heating, is there a warranty on that work, and do we have record if so?
I would have to ask Action Air. I can reach out to our point of contact that's been handling all the ordering and sending out the staff. I believe his name is Nick.
Okay.
I think his last name starts with an S. I forget the last name, but
Sure.
I know it's Nick, because every time I saw a email, it's like, what is Nick telling me?
but yeah, so I can reach out to him about that.
Okay. I know in the past, I think we had an issue where we were removing books that were maybe donated, and somebody that came in and she was upset.
Yeah.
So as we get new books in and we're shifting books out, do we have anything to make sure that doesn't happen, any system in place?
So there are definitely collection development policies, and that's actually one thing we did go over in our staff meeting. Actually, I forgot to highlight from this is we had our first staff meeting in probably 7 to 8 months. So there is actually meeting guidelines. There's actually a printout we now have at the front circulation desk. So when staff are going through meeting, there's actually an acronym for it called MUSTY, and it's like misleading, trivial, irrelevant, like things that, books on repairing VCRs, like, or those types of topics that maybe are not as well circulated. They kind of have to give justification for each one. It gets brought to my desk and I kind of have the final say of, okay, is this something, the staff can say, well, we think we should get rid of it for this, and this reason, or even suggest a replacement for a book. But I have the final say on, whether or not something gets weeded and directed to our technical assistant to do that. We are taking special notice to any donations. I do want to review the donations policy. A lot of libraries do kind of say things that are donated are kind of at the will of the library. Certain materials, unless they're of a high local value, have some certain, notability, shouldn't be kept trivially. Like, it shouldn't just be kept in perpetuity and just sit there and never be circulated. I know it's a conversation Deb and I have had about, certain donations under people's names. Like, we get an ALG trust every year for $400.
Mhm.
It goes to a specific topic, so that way that person is being honored through constantly new materials.
Okay.
But yeah, no, for the time being, anything that has a special donation, like we've received books from, I think it was the Hochberg Foundation last year for books about the Holocaust. Some of those books are going to get additional attention in terms of the weeding processes. On average, a lot of materials are 3 to 5 or more years, depending on if they break down, if they just don't get circulated.
One thing I think I would just hope that be implemented is that if we do get rid of any books, which I think, I'm happy people donate, but
Yeah,
the reality is some of these books are gonna have to come out of circulation, due to
Yeah.
wear and tear, or whatever it may be. That maybe they get noticed out of respect, hey, we are,
Yeah.
I know it might be tedious in a way, but it's also, in a way, it's respectful too.
Another option has been, at least I'll just say, in regards to the North books, because I know that was probably the biggest focal point, is getting in contact with any family or kin and looking to see if we can get a replication of that sticker and create a policy that if they're donating funds on a regular basis to procure books, if there's any particular topic they like, or if they just said, we'll donate this amount and we add maybe out of 5 or 10 new kids books, we'll take 2 and put his name on it and add it to the collection and have that designation. So that way his memory is being continuously seen in new materials, versus sometimes I think the challenge has been a lot of materials that were pulled back initially that had the sticker on it had not been circulated in 5, 7, 10 years or longer. And it's the conflict of, you want to honor their memory, but if the memory is being shoved away and collecting dust, it's,
Correct.
you want to try and find a creative way to honor memory.
And then the last thing I have is, so I've personally become a little frustrated with CIP, different board. Long story short, I just think they're useless. But with that being said, the concept of CIP is useful, but I think in-house we should be monitoring that, or having some sort of same Excel spreadsheet that copies what CIP does. And we're internally making sure we're following this and not having an advisory board track that.
Yeah.
So going forward, I haven't seen anything in-house. I don't know if we have anything in-house, but if so, I hope we can maybe create that, and I'll help if maybe.
What exactly do you wanna see?
So just making sure we're tracking on what needs to be done. So recently I was talking to somebody and it came up about the gutters.
Mhm.
And then I think I may have even followed up with an email maybe to both of you and such, about that.
Yeah.
But like the changes of that to the walls of the ARPA situation, I just wanna make sure we're having that written down, right? And it's not just discussed, but it's actually written down and we can track it on an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, so on an Excel spreadsheet, there are supposed to be documents of all of that stuff.
Yeah, no, there was some documentation, but there's definitely been, the past 9 months had definitely a bit of a lapse, and even
Sure.
with submitting the CIP this year, and I talked about this with Deb, and going forward, if we have any either new projects or anything that needs an update, we're gonna meet with Carl in October, November, because even without the tech issues he had, it probably takes at least a month or 2 to really give us a thorough report that we can use to back up and submit to CIP. And meeting with him in January was nice to get to know him and do stuff, but no worries. But yeah, it definitely was very under the gun last minute, and then when he said he couldn't get it in time, we were running late. But no, there is definitely a running list of items, and I think they have an updated, they kind of have an updated sheet of everything year to year. The other challenge with CIP sometimes, knowing from my experience, my past experiences, the CIP could, if something comes up that's a higher priority for, say, public safety or the schools, they could say, okay, you had this thing in year 3, we're kicking it to year 5 because this thing now needs to go into year 3. So we kind of get shuffled around.
Yeah,
anyway,
so
and
and that's why I
sometimes-
say they're an advisory board at the end of the day, and I
Yeah.
think there was somebody that spoke at the president speak, even putting them in their place, saying, hey, you are an advisory board, so nobody's gonna advocate best for us than us.
Yeah.
CIP is not gonna advocate just as good as we are for what we need, so.
Which is the reason I joined CIP in the first place.
Yeah,
But their meeting is tonight.
yeah,
They can't be in both places.
yeah.
But our argument to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen is more important than our argument to, I think, the CIP at the end of the day, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know for this fiscal year, that's actually is a good example when you mentioned the gutters is, we had the $80,000 envelope and, Deb was able to kind of dig into some things and obviously part of the envelope did include the retaining walls, which then reduces some of those costs, but at the same time, the engineer had indicated that we actually need gutters along the entirety of the building. So the savings, so to speak, of not having the retaining wall on that envelope, $80,000, lump sum, will likely probably be eaten up or utilized the majority of to do the entirety of the gutters, because he noticed a number of issues around the building that without them is causing issues that we can rectify with that, so.
I don't remember the retaining walls being part of the envelope. That was supposed to be separate.
So Deb looked into it and at least from her records, the envelope includes any of the exterior or anything that can impact the foundation, which included those retaining walls, even though they are kind of on the exterior. Basically the envelope it also includes the windows.
Right.
So it can include any of the exterior projects, and so the retaining walls should be considered a part of the envelope.
Because I don't remember the presentation I gave to CIP
Yeah,
including those walls. But doesn't make any difference. Okay, back to a couple of things.
Yeah.
Insurance. I talked to the office in town, and it's very hard to get any information out of them. I was simply told, well, if you think something's going to be covered by insurance, submit it, and we'll see if it's covered.
yeah,
That's not an answer.
yeah,
And then Ally was supposed to try and find out, and she never got anybody to respond to her. So, good luck, is what I'm gonna say.
thank you.
Donations. All the big donations will have stickers on them, so we know that they're donations or not.
If there's a request, when it comes to, for example, we have a few people in town or neighboring communities that come in and they've dropped off giant boxes of books. Some materials are brand new, less than a year old books. Those people don't necessarily ask for a specific, like, hey, I want my name on this or a sticker. If it's an established trust or an established name for the library, we would probably want to have that agreement in place for them to, if they include as part of their donation that they want recognition, we'd probably use some of the funds to produce a sticker in collaboration with them that could be affixed to the material.
Okay.
But yeah, in general, and I have to check with Deb, I don't know if the ALG trust fund that we get $400 a year for has any stipulation about putting a sticker on them. I have not come across a book that has an ALG sticker on it. It's really only been the North books, and then the latest round was the Hodgeberg Foundation. They provided a roll of stickers with their check to purchase books. So those have been really the only two I've seen significant donations for.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think if someone else wanted to donate a book, they could personally affix a sticker. If they wanted something like in memory of a certain resident, they could buy and print out their own sticker to affix to it. But it wouldn't necessarily be, a library sticker.
Yeah, I think it was ALG that was mainly what I was thinking of, because I don't remember them ever having stickers, but I do know that there is a limit to what you can buy with that for.
Yeah, I think they said history and like social sciences, there's a few genres. So once we get that in, it's basically Deb and I will kind of create and curate a list, make the purchase when we get the invoice, try and get it as close to or at $400. And then when we submit it to the town finance office, we would say it has to go into this account and it gets paid out of the same account.
And one last Question,
Yeah.
maybe I missed it on the boards, is there anything going on for arts lately?
Homeschooler is, the homeschool kids are definitely the biggest in terms of arts and crafts. They actually usually have a weekly program you can sign up for with Nancy Bennell. I want to say it's a 6-week program and they hold it on Thursdays. She'll usually come in around 10:30 before we open to get set up, and the homeschool kids come in around 11. There should be a flyer out either there or on the community bulletin board. If it's not, maybe she told them to get updated, but there is a contact information for those. Outside of that, the main arts and crafts are usually our monthly story times. We'll associate a craft with whatever story we read, or if we have special guests.
What about some of the night meetings for the adults, like painting classes and things like
We have been looking into a few. We did do the paint night last year, which was pretty successful. One of our custodian actually made pumpkin boxes that you could
Right.
light up. So
I
we are
still have mine.
yeah, we are looking into doing more of those. We actually right now the Connecticut Library Association is doing a fundraiser for various performers and crafts, where basically they're donating their services, and libraries can bid below the actual value. One of the ones I'm in a bidding war with is actually a knitting session, and it's actually for like teenagers and up, and it's like an hour and a half session where people can learn how to knit with their hands. So we are trying to bring in more craft related items, but we would definitely take any open suggestions. We're gradually trying to shift some of the programming back to Deb, but obviously we're still splitting a lot of duties, and I'm gradually taking on more and more from her of all the emails and all the accounts she used to be in charge of. And I don't know if Jen has any questions. I've heard noise a couple of times.
Yeah, no, did my hand raise? I'm sorry, that must have been my cheek because I had to push the phone up really close to my ear.
worries.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I think it sounds like you're doing an amazing job, and I'm really excited to see how the library blasts off from here.
We're getting there one day at a time.
Okay, treasurer's report.
So treasurer's report here, we have beginning balance of $147,372.04. I'm gonna go through a little bit more detail in a spreadsheet that I emailed out to everybody. So revenues, we had $2,821.91, and expenses of $18,291.31, with an ending balance of $131,902.64. Overall, so what I saw is, well, as I go through here, we didn't get the interest that wasn't recorded for last month. I'm still not seeing show up, because overall, from our total income compared to last year, we're down $395.02. And I think if we were to capture that interest, that would probably be give or take $1,500. We'd probably be up about $1,100. So I don't know if that's in a recording situation, that it just still hasn't been reported to the town yet or not. But that was one thing that I saw. As far as, let's see, so interest, Friends of Library, I'm not seeing that we've recorded anything for the whole fiscal year yet. And so last year by this time we had recorded, it looks like about 1,600. So any updates on that, that would be good.
Okay. Yeah, I can reach out to the friends and see, because we did get the approval for the check for about, it was, if it was, it was $1,600, I want to say roughly, that was approved at their meeting in January. So yeah, I'll take a look and see if that check just hasn't cut. I know there's sometimes a bit of a lag between when the finance department has been receiving some of our invoices and when we actually get checks sent out. So I've been trying to get ahead a few extra weeks, because otherwise, if there's say Amazon payments that are due soon, if I don't do it at least 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time, it could come up as being a delinquent bill or an overdue invoice.
Yeah, because last year I think we ended the fiscal year negative like $1,400, I think.
Yeah.
And we still haven't received anything, so
Okay.
it's starting to,
Yeah.
Donations, we've seen an increase. Last year we, at this point, had $631. So far we've had about $1,500, so that's a good increase. Patron fees, we've seen go up $510 more than last year. Building use, we've seen a much higher number here. Building use last year, 260, we're up almost $900, so that's almost a $640 jump. So that's good to see. Miscellaneous, I'm seeing almost, what is this, doubled in reporting in miscellaneous. So last year we reported at this time $736, and we were at almost $1,600. So I don't know if there's a way that we can kind of clean that up.
Yeah, I mentioned that at the budget meeting that we would like to more disaggregate what the miscellaneous revenues are, because for the most part, when we look at them for an update, it's mostly the bookstore. So we have a dedicated box for the bookstore / coffee bar / puzzle sale. So we kind of want to break that up and see, okay, how much of that on a monthly basis is actually from the bookstore versus maybe the coffee bar, because ideally some of those revenues are going to be used for, say, for the coffee bar, replenishing it with pods and cups and lids.
I remember a number of years ago, we actually had a mileage line item at one point.
Yeah,
And I don't know whatever happened to that, but I know you said some of the miscellaneous was.
yeah. I think a couple of the times that Deb and I had mileage, say for for a conference or travel, I guess at some point it must have been pulled off and it was put into miscellaneous. I don't know if maybe there's any parameters with the finance office if mileage is less than $100 a year. They maybe just say it should just be falling under an umbrella miscellaneous expenditures, but.
For the conferences, that should go under professional development, but you talked about going to get some of the furniture and things like that. That would have gone under mileage when we had a mileage
Yeah, line item.
line item.
Yeah, so looking at last January to this January, we've increased our revenue $1,500 compared to last January, but overall for the fiscal year, comparing last fiscal year to this point, to this, if we get those interests to be reported, we're probably actually plus 1,100, even though right now we're negative 400.
Yeah.
Give or take. As far as expenses, now payroll overall, because it's a little tricky because we haven't had a director and all that. So looking at payroll overall, it looks like we've spent so far to this point, comparing last January fiscal year to this year, we're negative 16. Well, we've spent $16,000 less so far. Now we've had other areas that were way up, so that offsets it. Now going through here, we've had legal fees of almost $6,500, drastically over, which we going into next year. Hopefully, we will address that. Let's see here. Landscaping, we're gonna fix that. Trash. Building maintenance, so for this line item, I think in the past we didn't have them recorded properly. We had the repair and maintenance maybe switched up. But if you look at both of them, we're negative $7,000 at this point compared to last year at this point. So, do you foresee any? I know you're still getting. I mean, you've been here, but as far as in the director role, you're still getting established and such. But have you seen anything where there's red flags coming down the pipeline?
So far, not yet. No, I think once the HVAC is all situated, obviously the septic was before my time, and that was a well solidified issue. I haven't seen anything significantly notable happen yet in terms of repairs or maintenance, other than what would be probably routine work.
Okay. Security, we've almost doubled our expense on security this year compared to last year at this point. Good.
Yeah, that one's an ongoing issue and something we still are trying to rectify with TAB, with whoever set up our security system, a number of ADT. There's just there's a number of issues we still need to get wrapped
That
around.
was something on the budget that the OF had to be told about.
Yeah.
Internet, security, all of that stuff went sky high, and but part of it was upgrading us to proper equipment for security, proper internet, proper computers, proper firewalls. We didn't have a firewall for a really long time.
So two expenses here that have increased, I think it's worth noting is looking at our propane, we're 36% higher than we were last year at this point. We're about $1,000 more.
That could be a problem because our next budget drops it.
And so, yeah, I don't know if it's just been a colder year than normal, I'm not sure.
It's been a little bit colder, and then I don't know how much it significantly impacted, but we did use the fireplace in the reading room for several days during that cold fall period.
So that might make sense.
Because, yeah, we did definitely get a couple of, like I saw back-to-back bills, and I'm guessing it's because, yeah, we were occasionally putting that on and running it for 3 to 5 hours and just consistently trying to bring in heat to the rest of the library when it wasn't working out in the main area, and even when it was eventually working in the front area and the back office was the main problem.
And then electricity, at this point, we are 35% higher than last year at about $2,800 more spent this year than last year.
Thank you, Eversource.
So, yeah.
And a lot of that's going to be us running the electric heaters.
Yeah, that too.
Electric heaters are really inefficient.
Which
Yeah,
we
space heaters.
We had about 4 donated from Action Air for the back office, plus I brought in a personal heater, and I believe Joan had actually donated or purchased one and left it to the library, so, and Deb brought in her own personal one too, so at any point in time, we were running at least 4 to 6 space heaters in the back office to keep it heated for about a week, so we will definitely see a spike in the January bill.
Miscellaneous, we've cut our miscellaneous at this point by 1,600, so we're down almost 80% there. Donations, we've increased about $1,200 we're spending in donations. I'm not sure, oh no, let's see here, no, less, okay, so there we go, that's good. Where was it here? Grants, so we've spent no money on grants this year. Are there any other grants that, because for income, we, at this point, didn't get anything, I don't think we got anything till April last year, maybe?
Okay.
I know you talked about the rural.
Yeah, there's that rural grant that's an opportunity. Now that we're back on doing more reporting and getting up to date on things, we should be getting more annual grants from the state. There's definitely other opportunities we want to look into in terms of applying for grants, whether it's through state level, federal level. It's mostly a matter of getting the time to find one, find its applicability, and getting the time and focus to apply for certain things like the Arsenal grant. Thankfully I'm on the eBlast. I got to see it the first day it came out, and we're already trying to come up with an action plan because it's basically a 1-month turnaround. So we're hoping that with the engineer coming out, we can kind of get a rough quote from him of what the cost would be for that particular project, to go for those grants to offset costs. I mean, the other option is if this project doesn't pan out, the LED lighting conversion might be something to look into as a way to cut down our electricity costs. But yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of opportunities we can try and look into to get more grants. So a lot of them will probably be smaller and book related, so it might offset our book costs compared to utilities or facility costs.
So we're down total our expenses compared to last year. We've actually spent about $1,500 less compared to last total. I'm just looking at the total amount up to this point this year and last year, so that's good. Now, we're always a negative, a net loss, because we spend more than what we bring in for revenues. But compared to last year, we're $1,000. When you look at the net income and expenses, we're actually better overall by $1,000. So
Okay.
we're tracking good right now. Now, our expenses for payroll is gonna start going up, so
Yeah.
as long as we won't get blindsided by any major project, I think we're good right now.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
And yeah, then in terms of the revenue, we're definitely really excited and happy about the building use fee. We just had another person come in today wanting to host a birthday party. It seems essentially every time there's a parent that has a birthday party here, another parent is like, oh, hey, I want to rent this room too. So we're getting a lot more feedback, and it's getting a lot of community support that we have this space
Yeah, it's
with
triple
the
almost.
kitchen that people can use for parties, family reunions. So we're going to keep kind of driving that home, that that's a space that for private events can be used, and is very affordable and can meet the needs for so many different things.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Jen, do you have any
I
questions?
don't have any questions. I'm good.
Okay. Acceptance of minutes. We have minutes for both meetings in January and the meeting in December. I don't have copies of those, but I didn't bring copies because I had really nothing to, adjust,
Yeah.
to amend. So I don't know if anybody else has anything about those minutes.
I don't have a copy in front of me right now, so I sort of feel a little uncomfortable voting on minutes that I don't like have in my hand. They're on my phone, but I can't look at them because I'm on Zoom on my phone.
Yeah. I don't know, should we just table minutes again?
Well, I mean, I would say, I know I'm not a voting member, so I'm just providing advice. I would say with a 3-member board, if 2 people are comfortable voting yes on any of the
But
minutes,
we're not a 3-member board.
or sorry, a
Five-member
3-member quorum for the
Yeah.
sake of quorum. If you have 3 members, 2 vote yes, 1 abstains, that still is a passing vote. If there's at least 2
Yeah.
members in favor, you can pass minutes, but it is up to your discretion. Certainly, I've been just putting them out as individual items, so if there's a particular set of minutes you want to approve and another you can table, that's how I kind of laid it out this time, but.
Okay. Nick, you have anything to say about those minutes?
I just want, more so than anything, I want to look at the January 22nd real quick. I don't know if I see those. Because that's where we approve the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here.
And actually, once we're all set with minutes, can we go back to treasurer's report for one other quick thing? Deb had left me a note and I wanted to bring it up for the record, just because it'll have to be put in the minutes eventually.
Sure, I think the biggest thing on the budget is just making sure it was recorded. Okay, 1 opposed, okay. Yeah. I'm good with, I would be a yes on all 3 minutes, so,
Okay, I'm a yes on all 3 minutes. Like I said, I didn't bring any because I know I was a yes.
sure.
Jen, you abstaining on all 3?
I'm abstaining because I don't have them in front of me and I would hate to, screw up.
Okay,
So in that case, probably for a sake of motions, maybe Karen made the motion, Nick
Yeah.
seconded, and it was a two yay, 0 nay, 1 abstention.
right.
Just to go back to the.
And I like how you're doing the minutes, so.
I don't want this, I do want Joy to take over eventually, but I am willing to do them in the interim. But one quick note that Deb made for the treasurer's report is I'm just saying this for the record, we can do it offline, is the bank needed to confirm Nick's issue date and expiration date on your license to update some things at the bank's end. We did get confirmation from them, we're gonna set an appointment to get me added on to everything. But they just asked for a couple other things to just get updated for all the accounts. They also just probably wanted for the record, and I'm just gonna say it out loud, I'll put it in the minutes, the list of people who are assignees on the bank account include Donna Latinzix, who's the town's business manager, Douglas Roberts, who is the town's treasurer, Nicholas Tella, who is the library board of trustees treasurer, and then eventually it'll be Deb Linares and myself as assistant director and director. So at some point, they just want minutes that'll probably reflect that information being there, so I'm just saying it
Yeah.
as a reminder to the future Steve to put it down. But that was it for treasurer related stuff.
And just in one regards to, and maybe this is why I don't have access, so I went to log on to the accounts today.
Yeah,
Actually, I was able to, I got a text to a 1508 or 15, somebody's cell phone that I think I got a text to. So Donna's working on that.
Okay.
We don't know whose
what end of
cell that went to, so
okay,
maybe it was Deb's, I don't know.
yeah,
But, so access for me right now is on hold until I can get that, but I will give them a
it
call.
can be after the meeting.
Yeah.
They just want me to write down your expiration date and your issue date. I think they have, everything else hasn't
Okay.
changed, so I think they just needed that to verify some
Cool.
data. But yeah, other than that, I'm good with the treasurer's report and
Awesome.
Okay. and 1508 is not Deb's phone number. But we've had an issue with some of the other names going to a cell phone that we have no idea what it is. We had one where Deb said it's gotta be Hope's number, but it was not a number that matched
Yeah,
what the library had on record for Hope. So, yeah, some of that needs to be straightened out.
Yeah, Donna's working on it today. When I talked, it was like 3:30. I said, it doesn't need to be right this second, but it's
Yeah.
something we need to work on.
Okay, next thing, we have tabled election of new officers. But there are 4 offices and there's only 3 of us here. We lost Joan. I have no idea what we want to do about election of new officers.
Do you think we should wait in case that position gets filled?
The position has to get filled. So you want to make a motion, Jen, to hold off until we have 6 members on the board again?
I think that makes sense. I will make a motion that we hold off on election of officers until we are back up to our full board complement of 6 members.
Okay, I guess I'll second it. Okay, discussion?
My concern is we are a board that struggles to have all members present many times. And I'm worried that it goes months. So that's a concern that I have. I think there's an opportunity to at least fill 3 positions now and table the rest, because basically Joy's already in her, email said that she would do treasurer, so we know that. Secretary, sorry.
Yeah.
And Kathy Ryan's already said she doesn't want to do anything. So I mean, what in particular are we on standby for?
We're standing by for another member to see if they want a leadership position instead of forcing it on people because they happen to be at a meeting on a snowy day in February. I think it makes more sense to, these positions, at least until we have a full complement of our board, even if it's only the 5 people, but I think it makes sense. I think 3 people out on a board of 5 to hopefully 6 members is not the right decision-making group for officers.
So again, though, we already know the two not here, we already know where they stand. So unless you're saying that we need to wait until we get a potential 6th person on the board.
Well, the thing is, with Kathy not being willing to take one and Joy saying she'll take secretary, that still leaves chair, vice chair, and treasurer. And there's only 3 of us here to shove into those positions, I think is what is the concern.
And I think that, I know there have been people who are interested in going on the library board. So I don't think that position is going to stay vacant for long.
What is the procedure? I don't know what the bylaw is for. I haven't looked at it because it's such new news and I was not prepared. Well, these are, if we adapt it.
yeah, and that's where I wasn't sure if,
Resignation.
I just don't know what the delay is. That's all. I don't
The
understand.
delay is we only have 3 people out of 5 to 6 people, and officers are a big decision that we should have at least a decent size quorum for.
Well, like I said, my concern is there are 4 offices and one of them Joy is willing to take, but there's 3 of us here, which would mean we would each need to take an office. Each one of us would have to volunteer for an office and then we vote on it.
Yeah, I mean, I will reluctantly vote yay, but I just really am voting yay with concern that it gets dragged out months.
We can always revisit it, in
Like
our
the next
next meeting.
it's done,
Do-
basically.
Okay, would you like me to amend my motion to say we'll give it a month for the position to be filled, and then if it's not filled, then we go ahead with officers? Because it just seems silly to me to choose officers at a time when we have an undercount of members.
I would rather, our next meeting, I'm guessing, would be in 2 weeks, right? I would
It-
prefer 2 weeks.
Okay,
Okay, so then I will amend my motion to say that we postpone the naming of officers until at least until next meeting, when we can discuss it with a full or a more full board. Is that okay?
I'd like it to say maximum 2 weeks, but I will go. I won't
Well,
be.
maximum 2 weeks doesn't make any sense, because
we're not
2
meeting
weeks is our next meeting, and we could, I don't like putting time limits on things. I think that we can discuss it next meeting, and then if somebody is like going to be put on the board, and there's a town meeting like the next day, it's silly to say that it has to be by a deadline of next week. I just think that postponing it until next week to discuss, because we have such a small quorum right now, makes sense.
I mean, we can have people hop on the phone call. I mean, Joy said she would hop on the phone call in the past. I mean, I just think a maximum 2 weeks. I just don't wanna see this get dragged, because I know we have a history of doing that, and I
Well, I
just
think
wanna
we can
eliminate
say a
that.
maximum of 2 weeks, because we're not gonna be talking between now and 2 weeks. So we can just say 2 weeks.
Our next meeting though is in 2 weeks, right? I don't have it in front of me, but.
Right, it's 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, it's a moot point to say a maximum of 2 weeks, because that would mean that there might be a chance for us to do it before the 2 weeks.
Right,
Sure.
yeah,
That-
I don't want this going week 3, 4, 5,
I
6,
know, I understand
that's, I wanna set a deadline, we aim and we achieve
But
that.
I think if you just say in 2 weeks,
in 2 weeks, we will just re-examine the issue. I don't see any problem with that.
That leaves it open, so go ahead.
I would say if I could interject, maybe just as and I'm not voting member, so I shouldn't even be offering friendly amendments, but you could just say, this will be postponed till the next meeting, so that does
Yeah.
kind of, that it's kind of the logical sense of, yes, we're gonna bring it up at the next meeting, and it's also, you got 2 weeks. The only other thing I was gonna add, and it was more of like a clarifying question, which obviously is a little bit above my head, is what the town process is to fill that 6th position. Since it was an elected position, doesn't mean that the DTC has a special meeting,
yeah,
nominate someone like Selectman Tolland, has to go to the board of
Basic,
Supervisors and be
yeah,
approved.
basically what happens is anyone who's interested in the position asks the selectmen to, what's the word? Put them in that position. If we have multiple people from multiple parties wanting this position, then we have to have a town hall meeting, and they vote between 2 candidates. So that's why I'm saying it could take longer than 2 weeks. Even if somebody were to show interest tonight, the minute they found out,
Yeah.
it
That's
may
why-
take more than 2 weeks to get a new person in, even if they're raring to go.
like I said, the only other option is to assign the 3 of us positions. And then when the new person comes in,
And again, the only other friendly amendment option would be is, you have a motion on the table, so it's to table it, but if you were to rescind it, another option is you could probably do individual officers if there's ones that you want to confirm. Like say if nobody else wants secretary and Joy is up for it, she's done it in the past, you could have a single line officer and say we want to nominate this person and table the rest for the next meeting, but that's
Yeah,
just,
no, for me, like, I have no interest in the chair currently, so I mean, if Karen Ann's the only one that really wants
Wait,
that.
I'm sorry, your voices are getting garbled and I'm having a tough time hearing.
Well, as far as positions, I mean, we know, Joy wants, secretary. So we could, as a board, vote on that. I have no interest in the chair, and I don't know if we would continue with Karen Ann, I mean.
I mean, I'm willing to continue at least,
Yeah.
until we see what the board gets, we have 6 people. You've done such a great job as treasurer, you have done an amazing job, would you be willing to be treasurer?
I would honestly be open to, vice chair, that's where I sit.
Okay, and I think that's a great idea, but that would leave us without a treasurer.
Yeah, but Jen is an amazing, person with numbers.
Are you, Jen?
I have
Am I an
trust
amazing person with numbers?
her. Can we at least, I mean, fill some of these, like Joy, we could vote on Joy tonight, right? We could leave we could leave vice chair and treasurer open, and if we feel comfortable, we could vote on chair and have two spots filled. Because we know Joy doesn't want chair, and we know Kathy doesn't want any position. So between the three of us, I don't want chair. Do you want chair, Jen?
But what happens if the new person coming in wants chair?
I think.
Well,
And I mean, if
and-
Karen Ann doesn't want, if none of us want chair and there's somebody who wants chair or some, I just think that it's,
Jen, you made a point.
Yeah.
Last time when you came in, that a brand new person should probably not be chair, to give them
you're
time
right.
to get coordinated and,
So I think we know who the secretary and chair would be. I think we can make a motion on those two and then figure out the last two in the next meeting. Is that reasonable, or?
and it's always possible, Jen, if the new person comes in and wants a position,
Like
For the-
treasurer?
if there is a person in that position, that person can step down from that office. That's perfectly legal. So if somebody.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not trying to be a block to progress. It just seems like it's a snowy day. We only have 3 people. We just found out that I just found out that someone was resigning when she walked in. I was not like, aware of this. So I'm imagining a lot of other people aren't. So we're going to be, I just think I don't know. It just seems like it doesn't make much sense to me to do it when we have so few members and we're in a transition of who our members are. But,
Okay.
if you two agree, I don't think I'm not going to vote yay, but if
I
you
think-
two agree, then you get it. So,
I think we have 2 positions we can at least fill tonight.
Okay, and like I said, Jen, you made the comment the last time that a new person probably should not be chair right away.
and I agree with that. But if I know, like,
But if you want chair, it basically is you or me.
right. And yeah,
Do you want chair?
Karen Ann, do you want chair? You seemed really nonplussed about chair last time, and that's why I'm trying to give you a potential for an out. But if you want chair, then take chair.
The reason for being nonplussed the last time was that, there were a number of new people on the board. I didn't know what other people wanted. I didn't know what the situation was with CIP was meeting at 5 o'clock, library was meeting at 7, my day.
Right.
And I work, on Wednesdays, I work till 5:30 and CIP
Yeah.
5. So that it was just a bit much for me last year, but I'm no longer on CIP, so that is something that I don't have to worry about. And we
Okay.
have,
So yeah, if I just didn't want you to feel forced into chair tonight when we have 3 people on the meeting, that just seemed like
Yeah.
it was
No.
unfair to you, but if you're
No.
open to it.
Yeah, it's not like you're forcing me into anything.
So let's move with the two, well, you'd have to rescind your,
Okay, so
Motion.
rescind your motion, Jen?
Okay, I will rescind my motion.
And I think you'll wanna make a motion for each officer, so probably do one for secretary and then do one for chair and then one for secretary. And then a motion to table the other two to the next meeting.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we choose Joy, lost her name there for a minute, as secretary, to continue the work that she has been doing. She has volunteered for that position. Do I hear a second?
second?
Any more discussion?
I don't think so. The only concern I have is that she's been, well, I mean, it's a problem, is that she hasn't been able to do the minutes because of her schedule. But again, we have the problem that we just don't have enough members that are involved and want to participate and can. So,
It sounds like that, but Joy has actually submitted a number of minutes even when she's only been on the phone. She has
Right.
still been.
oh, I'm not saying she's blowing off her responsibility in any way. I'm just saying that I know that she's struggled with getting them in by the legal deadline. And, but I will still vote for her. So it's just a concern.
We weren't really pushing, this has to be the legal deadline. Once we said this is the legal
I
deadline.
think the board's
she's
cleaned
got-
that up.
She's gotten them in. So.
Okay.
We're much better at that. Okay.
Oh, good.
So all in favor of Joy as secretary, say aye.
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 Okay, so the ayes are unanimous, so Joy is our new secretary. Okay, so the next one is a motion on the table to have Karen Ann continue as chair. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second. Oh,
It's okay, Jen. Any discussion? We've had a lot of discussion. Is there anything else to
My
say?
discussion is, I will be a yay vote. I think things have gotten a little bit better, and I hope they continue to progress. Obviously, I'll be a voice if I see otherwise, but,
And your voice, Nick, has been a huge reason why the board has straightened out its act. So,
so. But yes, I'm glad that things have been going forward, so.
we were always so casual that it really never bothered us that much. But once you got on the board and you started saying, no, we really have cleaned up our act. Okay, so all in favor?
aye.
Okay,
Well, you would abstain, I'm guessing.
yeah,
I mean, you can vote for yourself, but yeah.
but technically, yes, abstain, Karen Ann, I'm not supposed to vote for myself. So a motion on the table, a motion to table the, voting on vice chair and treasurer until we have someone who could at least fill one of those two positions. Volunteer.
I second that.
Okay. Jen, discussion?
Oh, yeah. I think we discussed this pretty much to death already.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we will bring that back up at the next meeting.
And I know it's not an appointment on at least the bylaws I see for the updated ones, I don't have the previous ones in front of me. But in the past, we talked about a liaison for fundraising and stuff like that. Eventually, when we get into the sixth person,
We had two extra things last time.
Yeah.
We had a liaison to the Friends, which is what Jen's position was, and we had a
Wait.
fundraising person, which was supposed to be Kathy's, but Kathy really
Yeah.
doesn't want.
so I think we still need to keep that in mind going forward though, because
Yeah,
I think
have no-
outside money is always helpful.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I think we should have a fundraising person, if not two people. I think that's an excellent idea. But
Yeah,
when you have six people and one doesn't want to do anything, and you have four office positions, it's hard to find that fifth to do the fundraising.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to move new business up to next, because it will be a quick report as opposed to
Sure.
the bylaws. Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, so recap. I gave a talk to the BOF. I meant to send you all copies of what I said, and I completely spaced it. Basically explaining the increases in a number of our things, explaining what miscellaneous has been used for, mentioning the septic and the HVAC. And then Steve handled all the questions in a very calm, professional manner.
Yeah, I will add that, yeah, after the meeting, Peter and at least one or two of the Board of Finance members were very complimentary and said it was probably one of the best presented library budgets in a few years, so.
Oh, probably more than
Not-
a few years. Probably more than a few years.
So they were very appreciative of all the information and being able to meet me, and I was actually able to meet the Human Services Director that wants to work on a few things and a few other staff members, so it was good to be in person. But it was good to have the hybrid tag team on the presentation, so. But yeah, they were very appreciative of the presentation. I forwarded them a copy. I had a physical copy of the letter that you had worked up. So they asked for a copy for the chair of the Board of Finance. So they have one, I think, that they include in their minutes, or they just kind of have for their records, maybe.
I sent it to the Board of Finance on
Okay.
January 30th, that date that I thought we were presenting.
Oh, okay,
I submitted that paper to them,
okay.
so, but thank you for giving them another one, just in
Yeah.
case. Hang on.
Yeah, especially considering there were a number of other departments that had to be postponed to another meeting. I think
Well, I was really surprised,
yeah,
because all of a sudden, it's like library time, and it's like 7:20. What do you mean it's library time?
yeah, it was nice that we weren't all the way at the end, like I've heard in the past. I guess apparently usually the library's always gonna last, and now this time they kind of switched things around, but I know there's also some staffing disruptions on the Parks and Rec side, and
Well, I know there were supposed to be 4 presentations, and there were only 2.
yeah. It was
And-
Human Services and Library.
Yeah.
I think they technically might have done one for probate, or they're doing one for probate.
But I had planned on being there in person till the crap weather came in.
Yeah,
And as you can hear, I'm not great, and so I really didn't want to go out in the crap weather. This is nothing contagious. I don't want anybody to think it's contagious. I had 2 severe asthma attacks the first week of school, and it totally screwed up my lungs, and they're just filled with crap. So I'm not contagious. It's just asthma effects. And like I said, I just did not want to go out in that. My husband said, "You really want to go out sounding like you do in tonight's weather if it's snowing?" And it's like, I think I better go. Since I knew Kathy said she couldn't make it till late. Joy said she was gonna try and call in if she could. It's like, I think I better.
is here.
Did she?
Sorry, I just saw she's in the waiting room.
Okay.
I can admit them. I'll try and make a note of when they came in at about 8:15.
We should probably update her with the
Yes, up
4
there.
positions.
Yeah.
Hey Kathy, sorry for that. We just saw that the notification you came in. So you're on mute right now, just in case.
Okay, so I have Kathy coming in at 8:14
Yeah,
on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm in the car, so I'm gonna stay on mute.
okay.
Okay, that's fine. Just an update. Joy said she takes secretary. You said you didn't want an office, and there's only 3 of us here because Jonah came in and resigned at the beginning of the meeting. So Joy was willing to take secretary. I was willing to take chair again. So we voted on those 2 positions, but we're waiting till next meeting to discuss treasurer and vice chair. Nick would like to be vice chair. If we can get somebody new in that could do treasurer, that would be great. So that's what we voted on. All the rest has just been reports. Okay, so bylaws. Joy told me she had a bunch of stuff that she had marked off, but she never sent it to me. So I don't know exactly what she had marked off. What do we have for updates that need to be included?
So I don't know why, having a brain fart here, but, one thing I saw was maybe a contradiction between, Article 3 and Article 1.
The general Article 1 in the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, so the activities, properties, and affairs of the library shall be, I'm reading Article 3, Section 1. The activities, property, and affairs of the library shall be managed by or under the direction of the board, subject to applicable law and in accordance with the purposes and limitations set forth in the Article of Association. So we're an elected board, right?
Mhm.
And then when you get up to the purpose of the in Article 1, the library shall be organized, operated exclusively for charitable, scientific, literary, and educational purposes within the meaning of section such and forum, so on. So it kind of ignores the voters, right? It's the board is doing this. It's saying the library, we're making decisions to fulfill this purpose, but there's no mention of, yes, we're doing this, but we're also protecting the town, right? It's exclusive.
What about the? Oh, sorry.
Well, to me, my interpretation is this is solely to protect the library only, right? And there's no consideration of the actual town, while we are representatives of both the town and the library.
Okay, the purpose, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
Okay, so in section 1.2, it says, are to serve the needs of the residents of Wellington, Connecticut and the surrounding
Right.
towns.
Well,
So
what-
it's,
Yes, if that's not showing up under Board of Trustees, it's just showing up under general.
But-
It does say that, Jen, yes.
yeah, so, but what I'm saying is that the bylaws do acknowledge that we are there to meet the needs of the residents of the town.
Technically, it says the library is here to represent the town. It doesn't
Right.
say the trustees are. Personally, I don't like the affairs of the library shall be managed by.
I'm sorry, where is that?
Sorry, section 3.1.
Okay.
I don't like the idea that we're managing the library.
Yeah, I think it, under the direction, I think managed by or should just be pulled out.
Yeah.
Because we hire a director that manages the library.
Right. Do we want to rephrase the under the direction as with, in conjunction with the library director? And then come down and say, with purposes and limits set forth in the Articles of Association and here in specifically Article 1, Section 1.2 for the promotion, for the service of the needs to the residents.
Yeah, I definitely would like to still maintain some sort of power with the affairs of the library, right, in conjunction with the director. I don't wanna just give off all power to.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we.
No,
can't.
I know that, yeah,
Yeah.
I believe though we, in conjunction with the director would be more appropriate.
More appropriate than under the direction.
Where,
We're in Article 3, Section 1.
uh,
We took out managed by or, and we're changing under to in conjunction with.
the agenda.
Yeah, but the other thing is though, 3.4 though kind of puts the director in there.
As an ex officio officer, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of wrapped up, I guess. 'Cause the
Yeah,
direct-
and we are directing, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jen.
We are I think saying that, the activities, property, affairs of the library shall be under the direction of the board is absolutely correct. I don't think we need to add the director in because I'm pretty sure we go into that later.
Section 3.4 kind of adds him to the board and,
It does, but it adds it as a non-voting member.
yeah, but that's what the director would always be.
Right, but what I'm saying is, the Article 3.4 is
I can
putting them
see-
in on the board.
I can see
but-
the gray area, yeah,
Yeah,
I see the gray
exactly.
area. Steve, what's your opinion? Are we overthinking it too, I mean?
Not necessarily, so you could, it might be worth putting in it, unless it's in another section, because I haven't gone through this as thoroughly. It might be good to state that the Board of Trustees are responsible for hiring of a director.
Oh, that's in here somewhere.
Okay, so if it's in there in another section, I feel like, you know, the activities, property and affairs of the library, you know, this might be an okay statement as long as it states that you guys are also hiring me because, you know, ultimately, you know, like when it comes to the budget, in an ideal situation, probably for next year's budget, you know, Deb and I will work together, we'll create a proposed budget from us. You guys can go through it and parse through and change what you feel is prudent to your opinion or your thoughts, if things should be cut or increased or
And that is
changed.
exactly the way it has always been done in the
Yeah.
past. It's just because you didn't come in until
Yeah.
January 11th.
This was an odd year, yeah.
Deb was so overwhelmed anyway that it didn't go.
Not to go too far down that road, and I think that's appropriate, director, assistant director work on it, I would just, I don't know if it's written anywhere, like whoever the treasurer is, me or whoever.
Yeah.
To be in on those conversations at the very least.
Okay.
You know, maybe not the whole board, I get it, but I think a board member in particular, probably the treasurer, would be somebody that should probably be in those conversations.
Yeah, like this one, there should be a finance committee that has at least 3 trustees on it.
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna double
yeah.
check. Actually, that for the various committees, like, yeah, you'd have 3 trustees who would probably, consist of the treasurer and any other, so basically, if we get officers on the, or trustees on the board to be assigned to that particular committee, then yeah, it would include the treasurer and at least 2 other members that we could call in.
Article 4, 1 through 5 says every one of those committees is supposed to have 3 people.
Yeah.
We only have 6 people on the board. But section
That's tough.
4.2 does
Yeah.
say the treasurer shall be chair of the finance committee and shall be responsible for developing, reviewing, and overseeing the library's fiscal procedures.
But the director wouldn't be a voting member of that,
Yeah, I know.
unless in some committees a director is allowed to. I don't think they probably should in any instance, right? I think a voting member should only be an elected person.
Right, that's the point. Only the elected
Yeah.
board is
So
supposed.
did we jump to Article 4?
No, I'm just quoting Article 4. We're still back in Article 3.
Okay, because I have a lot of problems with Article 4, so if we were ready for that, we'll go back to, all right.
Which then puts maybe an issue, I mean, maybe the finance committee can delegate that the budget is done by the director and assistant director. I'm sure we can delegate that down.
Right.
And then have it reported back.
Okay, so back to Article 3, number 1.
I would say, I mean, if we're back to my opinion, I think it's written fine because obviously I report to you when there's issues with the property. I do director's reports on activities that are happening, like events and programs.
So you're
and like the
leaving it under
affairs.
the direction, or you want to
Yeah,
do it
because if
independently?
there's any concern, like for example, yourself and Nick brought up, hey, you know, what is going on with more adult programming? You know, you're kind of helping provide insight and guidance on the activities of the library. And,
Okay.
you know, you know, it's my job as well as rest, you know, to oversee that and help direct, you know, your wellness to some degree, or your interests.
So the very last part of it, I would like to see it say, the purposes and limitations set forth in the Articles of Association, Article 1, Section 2, 1.2 of the bylaws of the library, and other sections herein, as opposed to just Articles of Association and herein. Because that would reference us right back to, the point is to serve the residents. I mean, it says herein, which
Yeah.
means everything in here, but it doesn't specifically address.
I'm not a voting member, so I have no problem with it. I just want to make sure, I mean, like, the way you can do this in terms of amending the bylaws is you can kind of go through and make individual changes, and as long as kind of there's no immediate opposition, you can kind of tally them all together and then at the end of it, do a final motion to approve the bylaws as amended. And then once we get through and update all those updates, email a copy out and put a copy on the website.
Right, but we gotta get through it first.
Yeah, so I just wanna make sure that, that process wise, that everybody's on board with that.
My concern in that last sentence of 1.2 is the word needs and the definition of what that is, because it implies that it's an open checkbook, right? Because providing a library supporting educational functions and events, it just, I don't know.
Okay, so you just wanted to say serve the residents? Jen?
But serving the needs of the residents includes their needs for reasonable taxes. That's what it says, is that
That's-
we
yeah.
are meeting the needs of the residents in our running of the library. And that doesn't mean we don't care about the taxpayers. It means we're serving the needs of the residents, including.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, it's just that one word, the needs, like how do you define the needs? And if it was defined on how Jen just stated it, I'd have no problem. Perfect.
But then.
If that's the understanding going into it, then I have no problem.
That was my understanding when I read it, and I thought it was a very well-balanced purpose, but.
Okay,
I'm good with it, and if we're all in agreement with that.
okay. So what about referencing that? You were concerned?
I'm fine now we've
Okay.
explained that word needs.
Okay.
That was my biggest hang up, is that word needs.
Can I just add one word to section 3.1 and then get out of it? Set forth in the Articles of Association and elsewhere herein,
I'm sorry, what section?
3.1 again.
It's just adding elsewhere.
Just
to
adding
here.
elsewhere in front of herein. It just says that there's other stuff in the rest of the paper
Yeah,
that also,
it's just,
That's
yeah,
what
it's just
the
kind of
board
more of a, I don't say legalese, but it's just a more formal way of saying,
Exactly.
Sure.
Following the guidelines in the articles here and
Association.
everywhere else in the
and
articles.
elsewhere herein, yes.
Yeah.
Just so they don't go, oh, herein only applies to this one section, you know?
Mm.
Right, yeah, exactly, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Article 2. That just says where we are located. And it says we can put in additional offices if we wanted to as a board. I don't know where we would go. I guess that would qualify as sending the bookmobile to the senior center, something like that. But, yeah, okay, so the rest of Article 3, number of trustees is 6. Joy brought up the idea that the problem with 6 is it could end up with tie votes. But I don't know who established that trustees as 6, and if we have the ability to change it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm always in favor of more the better.
I'm personally in favor of an odd number. Simply because you can't have a tie with an odd number. And we don't have a vice president to come in and break the tie like the Senate does.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm fine with 7. I mean, is 9 excessive? I think so.
I think before we look at changing this, we have to figure out if we can.
Yeah. We should accept these bylaws tonight. I mean,
Oh, no, we're not
yeah.
accepting the
Yeah,
bylaws.
so,
I just want to get some changes
Correct.
in that we could then send on to other people.
I would be in favor of 7 there, if we could get the blessing of the powers that be.
And as for 9,
I think
we've had
that's-
trouble keeping 6. I don't know if
Right.
we can have 9.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of your boards in the, where I live, I think the largest board for 9 people is like the Board of Education, which has a significant amount of, control over, what the town budget is in many towns, so it makes sense proportionally, so, I think town council is, in Tallinn is 7, I forget the Board of Selectmen, I think is 3 people, so I think 7's reasonable, and who knows if it is allowable, it might help draw in more people, and then it creates your quorum to be, I believe, 4 people.
That would be 4.
I think it still keeps it at 4, so even if you have 7 and say 3 people are out, you can still
It
have a
doesn't
meeting.
change the quorum from 6.
Yeah.
From having 6 members
Yeah.
to 7, doesn't change the quorum. So we have to look into whether or not that has been set by the town or if we have the.
So if possible, 7, but that's gonna impact number 3, which is an easy fix. You know, 2 trustees each, okay, maybe every other, if there's an odd, there's 3, right?
Yeah, we'd have to do something like, we'd have to do,
But that's an easy fix within that.
Yeah,
and that'll depend on what we do with 2.
okay, ex officio trustee, that is Steve. Removal of trustees, we can only remove trustees for cause.
Yeah, I have a problem with the word cause.
Well, the problem is,
There's many problems. So we're running into this right now because like Region 19, there's a member on Region 19 that supposedly doesn't even live in this area and nobody can get rid of them, right? And some of the conversation is like, there's literally like, people have been reached out to and everybody's like, you can't get rid of them, right? So is that a thing on boards where you gotta go through fire to get rid of somebody? Right? I don't know. 'Cause
yeah.
This
kind of.
person supposedly has medical issues that cannot, like, that's why this person doesn't go and they don't even live here.
Oh, but if he doesn't go, that is a reason to get rid of him.
That he hasn't been in forever.
Um,
And I think both parties are working on this
we
one
have
person.
a rule that if they don't attend 70% of the, meetings,
Yeah.
that is cause.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know if Ally ever confirmed that. Because what we, in our town meeting last night, we were running into where they cannot find this throughout the state, the ability to do this, and the party's been asking. So I don't know.
So where did
I don't know how Talon is,
So,
Well,
I see you biting.
Yeah.
Somewhere, someone
Thankfully-
has shown me
yeah,
a paper that says duties include attending a minimum of 70% of the meetings. And I don't know where that is, because it's
yeah,
not.
at least attendance wise, but thankfully I did not have to be part of that town council, but they actually had to go through the process of holding a formal hearing where there were 2 members of a historic district that there were numerous complaints brought to those people, and they had to have a formal hearing and actually have the individuals that were being considered for removal, have an attorney and have the town have its own attorney and basically hold a hearing in public showing evidence as to why someone should be removed or not. So I mean, there is a process, but yeah, it's usually very lengthy and it also usually requires a 2/3 majority to pass. So in the case of the town council, in that particular instance, I'm so glad I never had to be a part of.
But it's a nightmare to do.
It's a nightmare and it's dragging people who are, at least for that particular situation, are appointed volunteers, especially because some of the issues involved regarded behavior in public meetings.
But were they elected officials?
They
or-
were appointed, but they were appointed to terms that get reappointed by the
Okay.
council every set number of years.
But the electoral, voters did not put that. They
Yeah,
were okay, so
Yeah,
that's
no,
a different animal.
it's basically, the voters put their response to the trust
Yeah.
and the council to then appoint people and remove people as needed, but yeah, they need like a 2/3 majority, it's a very, it can be a very
But this
painful
situation
process.
is the actual voters had voted the
Yeah,
person in, so it's a different animal in a way.
yeah, and that's where, you'd have to have a meeting called for that purpose and the meeting must state the purpose, so it almost sounds like the verbiage here is you're calling a hearing to consider someone's removal
Yeah.
from a board of trustees, and then it would have to follow a similar process.
I think it just needs to be ran by the town because I know within the party, we couldn't find anything. It did, different, it was R19.
Okay, a trustee may be removed only at a meeting called for that purpose. The meeting notice must state the purpose or one of the purposes of the meeting is the removal of the trustee. This is followed by, who in the town would it go to?
That's where we don't know.
Yeah.
We're reaching out to other people.
So that would need to be followed by
Yeah,
something in the town.
Yeah, now, the word cause though is just too broad, right? I mean, not even me, right? I mean, just 20 years down the line, say there's somebody on the board and they piss the whole board off, right? And the whole board's revenge is to go after this person, like, should that be
Well,
allowed?
That's why it gives a very clear definition of cause in the next line. cause shall mean 1, the trustee's failure to perform their duties as a trustee. 2, the trustee's engagement in dishonesty, illegal conduct, or misconduct, which is in each case injurious to the library. And 3, the trustee's violation of these bylaws, the board's written policies, and codes of conduct. So they're very clear on the definition of cause.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's too broad. I mean, dishonesty.
So
What is dishonesty, right? What is that? You know, what is illegal conduct? You know, are we talking like the actual state statutes, or are we saying like it's what we think is illegal? You know, it's not defined. They're not defined items, and that's my problem.
Okay, but it isn't
Or
necessarily.
misconduct. What's misconduct?
It's something that affects the library in a bad way. This is not state statutes.
Yeah.
This is just, the purpose of the board is to support the library and defend the library and,
But what if somebody gets on a board and the people voted for that board, right? And this could be any board, right? And people wanted that person to be a disruptor. And that's why that person got on, right?
but disruption is.
Now, is that
disruption-
misconduct?
No, disruption is not misconduct.
I just, that's where the gray area is. What is misconduct? What is dishonesty? You know,
Well,
it's very subjective.
It's important to remember that we are a 501c3, and because of that, we have to follow the rules for 501c3s. And part of that is that there are certain behaviors that are failing to meet your fiduciary responsibility. And that's what this item is dealing with.
Well, why don't I, when I get out of here at some point, actually look up to see if there is a statute from a 501c3
I don't-
that says.
Sorry.
That says something about what constitutes cause, what constitutes dishonesty, illegal conduct, et cetera. See if there is anything. But this just says as now, any conduct that is in each case injurious to the library,
Right.
which means it hurts the library in some way. Like disruptors are fine, but suppose somebody starts,
I don't know. So say you have a board member that's like, starts publicly talking about the library in a negative way. Is that gonna, say the library goes through a moment and it's, try not to swear. It's a poop show, right? And it's a hot mess, right? And the person's calling, and the board member's out there saying, hey, the library is a hot mess, like this is garbage, right? Now, do you say that person's bringing negative light onto the library?
that's bringing negative light onto the library, but is it misconduct? I don't think so.
I think.
Is it misconduct that is injurious to the library? That's the criteria, and that makes sense with our fiduciary responsibility. Any misconduct that would be injurious to the library would be our failing to meet our fiduciary responsibilities, which must be addressed. I don't understand the problem here. As a board where we have a fiduciary responsibility, I can't see why there's a problem with this line.
I'm gonna make a suggestion. It's 8:40 and we're only in section 3 still. Let's go look up to see if there is some statute that says this is what is considered to be dishonesty, illegal conduct, something like that. I mean, we've been through it before. We had a director who quit and embezzled money.
Yeah, I guess the illegal conduct, I can kind of see that pretty black and white, maybe. But again, I mean, injurious, I mean, the definition is causing or likely to cause damage to or harm, right? I mean, is that somebody speaking negatively about the library when it's going through bad times, is that now gonna open that person up to being removed? When they rightfully should call something out. When something's good, you praise it. When something's bad, you it is what it is.
We haven't brought you up to get rid of you. We don't.
No, I know that, and that's why I said, you know, this is not me, this is 20 years down the road, right? I mean, because there's gonna be somebody worse than me out there. You know, and and it could be on either side of the aisle, like that person should not be removed because they are calling something out.
If they're being honest about the problems that the library is having, I don't think that that can be considered misconduct. I think if they go out and they say, well, you know, the library is doing this and the town just gave them $200,000 and that money should be taken back, and the BOF takes it back, that would be injurious to us.
Yeah, but maybe they should, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know the situation, that could be at play, and as an elected official, they should be able to speak on that behalf. I mean, there's many times, I mean, even at the national level, you see both sides, they'll speak pretty nasty and negative of,
Yeah,
and they should be able to.
Right, and I'm
freedom
not
of
saying you
speech
shouldn't be able to,
Yeah.
but if someone
They
says,
shouldn't be punished for that.
right, but if the library is punished, if a future member says, we didn't deserve this, budget, and the BOF takes the budget away because of that, that is injurious to the library. The person saying something is not injurious. The
Yeah, that's
repercussions
what
would
comes
be-
of it, but I mean, why should it, I don't think that person should be punished because they called something, and maybe that was a corrective action that was appropriate, maybe they should have taken $200,000, I don't know, right? I mean,
One recommendation might be the Connecticut Association of Library Boards, maybe contacting them and seeing if they have
That's an excellent idea, Steve.
ample policy, or see if other library boards have removal policies, and see if there's one that maybe either is clearer than this or has some further backing for legal purposes. Because the other thing to keep in mind is you could, vote to remove someone, and what's their repercussion? They could, when they say, well, I'm gonna sue the library board because I don't think I was removed for appropriate cause.
yeah,
And then who
Which
pays
is-
for that? And that goes down a whole.
Which is why
Yeah,
it should be added that we are not the end all be all.
yeah,
That if we vote to remove somebody, it still has to go someplace else.
yeah, so it might be worthwhile seeing if other towns have even a removal of trustees, or what the,
Right.
I think I'd be more open I'd be more open with this language if it had to go to another entity, say maybe a town hall meeting.
Which is exactly what I said, we should add after the
I still don't like the language, I think the only, off the top of my head right now, the only two things is, A, you're not showing up, right, at all. Well, a certain percentage, 70%, whatever it may be, and B, illegal conduct, legit, like you got caught criminally, like you're stealing stuff,
like, yeah, probably illegal or misconduct, like say you were using, you had a business, or for personal reasons, you started using library equipment that is paid for by taxpayers for personal business reasons, or personal reasons that benefit you and not the public.
I still think the last one, violation of the bylaws, the board's written policies and codes of conduct is reasonable.
I don't see that, because if the person was appointed and not voted in,
Okay.
then yes, I would agree with you
Okay,
on that.
I think we discussed this too long,
Sure.
because I don't think we're ever gonna come to a conclusion until we know
Yeah.
if there's a better way to write this.
Yeah.
And so, it's 9:15. I'm starting to cough, apparently my Mucinex is running off. So, do we have anything wrong with 3.6 resignation? We got written notice from Joan. That's really, we get written notice and then the town gets written notice.
Yeah, which the copy Joan gave me was, I think, one that was submitted to the town, I think, clerk's office.
Yeah, she had it stamped in the
Yeah,
town clerk's office. So, I mean, we could put something in there that it has to be registered with the town, because they're not officially resigned until the town resigns them, so we
That
could.
makes sense, yeah.
So any trustee may resign at any time by delivering written notice to the board, the chair of the board, or the secretary of the board, which will then be forwarded.
I'm sorry, but that language you just used then, so it currently, I mean, are we not in a quorum then? Cause it had not been, what's the current bylaws then?
I didn't get that. I'm sorry.
The
What's-
current bylaws say that, Joan now is not, still a board member
No,
until it's recorded with the town?
she recorded it with the town.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she went to the town first.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
all right. Just with the language you had just stated, that's what I was like,
Oh,
oh, right,
no, sorry,
Okay.
she brought it in stamped
Okay.
from the town.
okay.
And that has to be included to be an official resignation.
I think, yeah, that language should be here, okay.
Okay.
I'm glad that.
Yeah, so maybe, any trustee may resign at any time by delivering a written notice. Such resignations don't take effect when such notice is delivered unless it specifies a later date, a copy or,
Such resignation shall not be official until recognized by
the
Town
town of
clerk's
Wellington, yeah. And then vacancies,
I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, and again, the vacancies policy, I don't think we can change because that's, I think, the way the town does things, and we have to follow that. So
Yeah,
even
the
if we want it, I don't think we could change it.
The standard way I've seen it on the vacancies is the RTC and the DTC, if they have candidates that they would like, send them to the town selectman, and the town select person, man, woman, whatever, presents it to a board meeting, and they make the decision.
Hmm.
It really has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Do that.
Oh,
Sorry. Yeah, I'm starting to lose it here.
would we want to finish at section 3.8 and just finish with regular meetings and then stop there?
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm good with
give me, just a couple of minutes, yeah, so you can go ahead and leave now because you can hear how I sound, and the Mucinex has run off, so I'm starting to cough. So, okay, so yeah, that's fine. Okay, bye.
Yeah, so for
Love you too, bye.
section A of that, I would like to see 12 there. I think there should be at least one, and if something came up, I think we've even had to cancel a regular meeting. But I think the minimum should be at least once a month.
But the issue has been that summer vacation interferes and we can't always get a quorum, so that 10 gives us the option of not having July and August meetings. That was what the rationale was.
Sometimes it sucks, but you gotta show up to a meeting. I mean, especially with Zoom, maybe make the exception that those July and August, somebody zooms in there, but I think just having the requirement of once a month, I think is appropriate. I mean,
Well, do you want to say once a month, or do you want to say 12 times? Because 12 times doesn't necessarily mean once a month.
I think 12 times per year for regular meetings, yeah, because maybe you can double up 2 regular meetings then and have your July, August off, I don't know. I think
I mean, right now we meet twice a month, so we're doing up to potentially 24 meetings a year. And that excludes any special meetings.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily live and die by the sword on once a month because, there might be a month where like, it's quiet, there's literally nothing going on.
The reason we upped it to twice a month is because there was so much stuff that needed to be done.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I think 12 times per year for regular meetings is appropriate.
Okay.
I think that when we're writing the bylaws, we're writing the minimum, not the ideal. So I think 10 times a year is appropriate for our bylaws because that's the bottom bar that like we're not meeting our own rules. So that should kind of be lower than our expected.
I mean, I expect somebody I vote for to at least show up once a month. And it's not that hard to do, which is 12 times a year.
If we leave it as 12 times a year as opposed to once a month,
That's the flex on it.
that's the
yeah,
flexibility.
Yeah,
As Nick said, if we wanted July and August off, we can just have 2 meetings in May. Or 2 meetings in September.
we would just have to schedule our regular meetings when that schedule needs to go out. And maybe 2 scheduled, meetings would fall in budget season, right?
That could be a special meeting, like you could
Yeah, but
easily.
this is under regular meetings.
This
So
is regular meetings.
Maybe what we should say is, 12 times a year, but we would expect to be meeting twice a month minimum, December and January for budget, which would give us the options then of having July and August if we wanted to. That would still give us part of the year.
I wouldn't necessarily
I know,
trap a board in, now, I'm not using the word trap is in a bad way, just like make a board have to fulfill that going into the future. I think when the schedule is submitted, it's just every year, that's probably traditionally what it's gonna be. But if something changes in budget season, I don't know,
we've always
changes.
met at least twice a month, if not.
That's what I'm
more.
saying, so, that will be written down anyways when the schedule is written. I just, at the end of the day, I would like to see it 12.
Okay, and none of this is set in stone yet. This is all
Correct.
just discussion.
Right.
Okay, so resolution, beginning of the year, we send them a
Yeah,
list of what it
so this
is.
goes into what we're talking about.
Schedule of meetings gets sent to the town clerk. Agenda, at least 24 hours before the regular meeting. The secretary of the board, I've been doing it till Steve did it. So, maybe a member of the board or the library director shall file the agenda, as opposed to saying specifically the secretary has to do it.
Or even right in the absence of the secretary,
Okay,
the chair,
Why not just put it the board,
yeah.
just
Okay.
the board?
okay, that's fine. The board. Okay. Steve wrote up an agenda, but he did send it to me.
Yeah,
And I said, there was only one thing on there that I would have added, everything else was what I had had for a list, so, yeah. It's not necessarily, it wasn't voted on by the board, but my agendas have never been voted on by the board.
yeah, usually the agenda is something that is set by the chair of the board or depending on
Yeah.
the dynamics.
Number A, here,
Is that
At least-
special meetings?
D, I'm sorry, D. For D, I would like to see that, because this came up with the Board of Selectmen, they got jammed up because they submitted a, agenda on like a Friday, the office wasn't open. So I'd like that there is acknowledgement that it has to be submitted on a business day of the office, however that's
At
worded.
least 24 hours, or how about at least 2 full business days? Because I ran into that problem when it was Martin Luther King's birthday and I didn't realize Monday was a holiday. So I had to call at like 8:00 in the morning on that Tuesday and say, I sent you an agenda Sunday night, but I didn't realize Monday was a holiday. Can you please make sure it gets up?
Yeah, I would just say at least 24 hours and submitted on a business day,
Okay, okay.
Because I don't think we should be sneaking a agenda in on a Saturday or something like that.
And see, the thing is, I will send them in on a Saturday or Sunday, but I know they're not gonna look at it.
Official, yeah, but they need to be done.
And like I
Yeah,
said,
we're limited by the town hall, so having it, it
But
should say, it
Is this Tuesday?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
So at least 24 hours before a regular meeting on a town office's business day?
I would just not go into the details, and I would say something like it has to be up with 24 hours before a regular meeting and follow town and state ordinances regarding agenda posting, because that may change. And then if our bylaws say we follow the law, then we don't have to write down what the law is today
Fair, that's fair.
So like
in
in
case it
accordance.
changes.
Yeah, in a court, yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay.
Cause they could, well, they probably won't, but they could, yeah.
2/3.
2/3 of the trustees present and in which the borough is present, any subsequent business not included or involved in it may be considered an act. Yeah, that's always the board concerns at the end of the agenda.
Yeah, if there's like another item to add.
So any item that comes up, we have always done under board concern. And our bylaws say that's perfectly acceptable. Okay, special meetings may be called at any time or place by the chair or the majority of the number of trustees. That's the way we've always done it. But again, at least 24 hours in advance.
In accordance with state.
Right.
Like what general.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe just add that in at the top of the special meetings, like by majority of board members, trustees in accordance with FOIA laws, and then, yeah, the notice and everything else.
Yes.
Kind of
Town and
follow-
state statutes, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, emergencies. If there is an emergency, we may call a special meeting without notice. We are allowed to do that. But then. Okay, I'll be right up. Give me a sec. You know, the day the library got flooded, if there was something the board needed to do about that, we could have called an emergency meeting about the flood. Because that is,
Hey, I put something in the chat.
Oh, let's see. The chat isn't up, so I'll try and put that
I
up.
thought you guys had objected to the language in 3.7, but I didn't hear what you officially changed. For placement of for vacancy filling.
3-7.
We were just gonna go with what's there, I believe, right?
yeah, we didn't change it.
Lord.
7.
Yeah.
Okay, whoever just came in sounds as bad as I do.
That's Kathy.
That was Kathy.
Sorry you sound so bad, Kathy, but I currently have 0 votes. It's completely gone. So I will be leaving the meeting at 8:58. We no longer have a vice chair, but if you guys wish to continue the meeting for a little while longer.
I'm fine with, I mean, we hit 2 hours, so, I mean, I don't know.
So I guess, yeah, at this
Yeah.
point, well,
Yeah,
if you
I
want to wrap,
personally think we're done.
if you want to wrap up the meeting really quick, my suggestion would be to state that, or like make a motion to postpone a vote on the bylaws for the next regular meeting,
Well, we weren't.
or postpone,
Continue.
continue.
There was no
discuss-
voting, yeah,
Yeah,
there was no
continue
voting.
discussion, because,
Yeah, because there was never going to be any voting
Yeah.
today. All we're doing is reviewing the bylaws.
Yeah.
Alright, so go to board concerns? Any board concerns?
Any board concerns?
I'll just really quick, the FOIA, hearing, I was able to speak at, and they are extending it to, I'm guessing in 45 days or so. So either Steve or whoever, representation of the board.
Yeah, I think, that was the one question we had for ourselves. I think it has to be the board, like I'm a separate entity
Okay.
of the board, but I'll certainly, if I get apprised of
I
any
have not seen
communications.
anything.
Yeah, well, so at the hearing, I forget his last name, first name was Nate. He,
Too many nits.
he had stated he was gonna continue the hearing. So the hearing has been continued. I'll wait for the notice to come out. Usually, I noticed in the past, they've been about 45 days out, so.
Yeah, we'll see if we get a letter, and if you happen to get notification
Yeah.
before us, you can email the board.
Sure.
And yeah.
President speak, we don't have anybody?
No public, unless any of the board concerns from Jen or Kathy.
Good?
I have no concerns.
Yeah, I'm good to continue this conversation another night.
Okay, so exactly 9 o'clock, I call to adjourn the meeting. You don't actually have to have a motion to adjourn the meeting. You can just say, we're done.
Wow. All right, cool.
Goodbye.
I
Thanks,
hope you
everybody.
think-
Have a good night, Kathy. Have a good night, Jen.
Good
Bye.
night, thank you.
But Kathy sounds as bad as I do, but my voice is like gone.